how do we make this thing spawn in over and over again? For that, we're going to make one more thing, and we're going to call that a pipe spawner. So let's make one more child node. It's going to be a node 2D, and we'll call this pipe spawner. We'll add a script to it. We make a new script. Again, I want to make sure that it's in the C# folder, and we'll create it. Now, this pipe spawner is going to need a handful of things. It's going to need a timer, which we'll need to add in Godot in a moment. And it's going to need to know which scene to spawn in that is going to be the pipe scene. So for that, make an export variable, and that'll be of type packed scene. This is a variable type that's just going to allow us to put in any scene of the game. And with that packed scene, we can just say, hey, make an instance of this. Spawn in this packed scene into the currently active game world. So we'll just call that packed scene. That is fine. And since we want to be able to spawn this either up or down by a certain amount so that they don't always spawn at the exact same height, because that would make the game kind of boring, we'll add another export with a float, and we'll call that something like height. We'll make a private void spawn pipe function. We mark this as private because it doesn't need to be public. No other objects need to be able to call this, and we don't want to accidentally allow other scripts and other people working on the game to call this when they really shouldn't be messing with this. So sometimes you want things to be public because other things need to be able to access it and to run it or to get data from it. If something is just internal to only this script itself and no other object needs to be able to interact with it, we mark it as private. And here we make a new node 2D. And this is not a new node 2D, I should point out. This is a variable that's going to reference to a node 2D that exists in our game world, in our tree hierarchy. So we'll call this new node. And that's going to equal our packed scene dot instantiate. Now you can do a funny little thing here, and this is one of those things where, again, C# is really quite handy. We can give in a type that is going to instantiate as. So we can actually just say that we want to instantiate this as a pipe type variable. And then, of course, this node 2D type needs to be a pipe. But if we do that, it's going to instantiate this and immediately allow us to make the new variable that we've just created of the proper type so that we can do our pipe related stuff with it. It's kind of neat, but that's only important if you want to access any code that exists on your pipe scripts, and for the most part here we don't. So it's good practice to keep your variables as generic as possible until the very moment that you need them to be specific. We don't need to do anything specifically pipe related here. All that we need to do is to spawn this thing in and offset it a little bit up and a little bit down. A node 2D allows us to do all of that, so we only really need this to be a node 2D type variable. It's still going to spawn in a pipe, it's just this script isn't going to know that it is a pipe. We do need to tell it that it's going to be a node 2D still though. Then we create a float within this function, and we'll call that offset. And that is going to be equal to our height, either in the positive or the negative or anything in between it. So we need to get a random number within that range. We can do that with a built-in library called GD for Godot, and that has the randRange function, which is going to give us a value from negative height to positive height. Now this will also be an annoying little thing because it's going to try to give you a double because it wants to be super accurate. We don't need this to be a double, so we just put in, hey, whatever you put out here, pretend to be a float so that we could put it into this float variable. Then it is time to add this to the scene because we've instantiated this node, but it doesn't actually exist yet in our tree. And this is sometimes pretty useful because what this allows us to do is create the node, do some more code to it before it gets added to the screen and runs its own ready function. Sometimes you want to set up its initial values differently through code or whatever. So we can do whatever we want here before we actually add it to the screen. In this case, we don't need to do any such thing. Now, very often when you spawn in a new node, you will probably be spawning it in as attached to whatever script is doing the spawning. In which case you would just do add child, and we'll just add the new node here. In our case, what we actually probably want to do is we want to add these to the root of our scene. And the reason for that is because if we do it that way, it's going to be a lot easier for us to automatically destroy these pipes once they are off screen. And I'll show you why in a moment. But the way that we do that is we can just get the tree, which is the entire game tree, which more or less just gets you the very topmost node of the entire game running. So we can get that current scene from it, .current scene, .add child. And now it's going to add it to the root of our current scene instead of directly to our pipe spawner node. Now that we've done that, we can get our new node again, and we can say its position is going to be plus equals a new vector 2. In the X, we're going to add nothing to it, and then in the Y, we're going to be adding our offsets and then ending off with a semicolon. So we create a new node, we calculate a offset, which we don't need to necessarily do that there, we can just do that there. It makes a bit more sense to read through. We actually add it into our game. We can do all sorts of things in between there if we need to. In this case, we don't. Then we generate a random value for an offset, and then we just offset our newly spawned in node by that amount, either up or down. Now, this spawn pipe is going to need to run on a loop. It's going to need to spawn a pipe, let's say, every second or so. And for that, let's set this up in public override void underscore ready. Here we need to get a timer and then tell that timer that, hey, whenever you run out of time, run this spawn pipe function. So first we'll get a timer, just call that timer for now. And we'll say that that is equal to get node of type timer. And then we need to give in the name or the path to that node within the scene that we're working with here. This is a kind of hard-coded way to reference two other nodes within your scene structure. So if we go back into Godot real quick, and we get our pipe spawner here, we can add in a child node, and we'll add in the timer. Make sure that it's attached to our pipe spawner. And what this is going to look at is it's going to try to find, starting at the node that has the script attached to it, for the exact file path, just the same as you would be used to in something like your Windows Explorer, that we give into it. So in this case, because there's no super deep nested stuff, the actual name that we're looking for is just timer. But just to make sure that we understand, it's not about the fact that this is a timer. So let's give this a different name. Let's call this spawner countdown, something like that. Then in our code, what we're going to be looking for will be, in quotations, that exact with capitalization. So don't mistype it like I did. And don't forget what you called it, spawner countdown. Countdown. And this will try to find a node with this exact name. If it is within another node, so what you can have quite often actually, is having other nodes that are attached to nodes within a tree view. We have a lot of this nesting going on. You would need to first specify the node 2D, and then slash, and then the name of the actual node that we're looking for. Do pay in mind that if this path specifically exactly doesn't exist, this is going to fail, and this value is going to be invalid. So this is kind of a tricky way of doing that, but it is a way that you can do it with getNode. Taking a real quick break here to say, if you're enjoying this or finding this helpful, a way that is entirely free for you to support me, if you don't want to sign up for the Patreon, is to go down below in the description to my Steam page for my own game and add it to your wishlist. Only takes a couple of seconds to do, but it actually does massively help me out and support me making my game and the content that comes along with it. It's a way that you're going to be seeing a lot when you're working with GD scripts, because GD scripts allows you to drag and drop these in a little bit easier. If you have the GD Tools plugin, it, I believe, also allows you to drag and drop a currently open scene in to get this get node with the proper path to that node. This is one way of doing it. It's good to be aware of. What we're going to do actually is we're going to just make this as another exported variable, because that's just a little bit of a safer way to do it. And I'll show you how that works in a moment. Then we always, with this type of stuff, we check if our timer, and we want to check the actual variable, not the type, is not equal to null. And this just checks, hey, is this actually a valid timer? Did we assign anything to this variable or not? Because if we didn't, it's going to crash and give us errors and all that kind of stuff, and we don't want that. So we just then take our timer.timeout, and we add to that our spawn pipe. And now every time the timer times out, it's going to run spawn pipe. We also, just to be sure, can add a else. So if our timer actually is not valid, we can say gd print, and then we can just print an error message like error timer not valid in pipe spawner. And that'll give us something as feedback if this ends up not working. So if we go back into Godot and we build that real quick, I'm going to remove that node 2D because we don't actually need it. That's just for demonstrational purposes. So let's delete that. Select our pipe spawner, and we will see that we can assign first and foremost a height, let's say 30 units up or down. We can tell it which scene to spawn in, so we can quick load, and it's just going to give us a list of all the scenes in our project. Of course, we're going to want to spawn in the pipe. And then the timer, we can just pick from all the timers that we have in this scene, which is going to be the one timer that we have. Now, we do need to set up that timer because by default, it's going to not automatically start. Timers can be one-shot, which means that they don't loop. We want this one to loop, so don't make it one-shot. We want this to auto-start, and then we can tell it how long between timer loops it's going to take. 1 second seems pretty good. Now, this pipe spawner is still at 0, 0, 0. So if we just grab this and move this along a little bit like this, we'll probably want this to be roughly in the middle of our screen here, and then just move it ever so slightly off screen. Also delete this one pipe that we have. And with that, it's going to now, if everything works properly, start spawning in these pipes. Now, it is spawning them in at 0, 0. Which makes sense because we're adding them to the current scene's roots. So before we add in our offsets, what we want to do is we want to set our new node's position to be equal to our spawner's position. Things as easy as that are sometimes easy to overlook. But now that we have that fixed, we should be able to see that it starts spawning in a lot of these pipes. And they're a little like too tight to each other, and they're definitely too difficult to maneuver between. So there's a little tweaking that you can do to make this game a little bit more fun and just a little less frustrating in general. One last thing though is these pipes are never going to disappear. And the reason that we added them to the scene roots instead of adding them as attached to the spawner, like you would probably usually do with most objects, is because that way we can easily check their position. And if their position is beyond a certain amount to the left, we can just say, hey, delete this pipe. So this pipe is going to, in its process, also then check if our position dot x, so that's the left to right value, is less than, let's say, minus 500. That means that it is well off screen. Then we just say, hey, we can queue free. And queue free just tells the engine that this node is ready to be deleted. It will be deleted at the end of this frame. So it will still exist for the duration of this frame. Oftentimes it is safe to still write some code that happens after queue free because it's not immediately deleted. It is good practice to try to not rely on executing code after you've set something to be queued free, but generally it should be safe to do. And from there, we have a functional, albeit in desperate need of balancing, game of Flappy Bird. Now, with a little bit of extra work adding in the background and doing a little bit of extra touching up, balancing the stuff, I've added a score counter in this version as well. This video has gone on long enough, I don't want to drag this on any more than it has, but this is the version that I made as a reference for this project before getting started, and as you can see, the code for this version is almost identical to the version that we made, just with a couple of extra little bits added to it. It's a little bit more zoomed in, things are a little bit slower, and just generally maybe also a bit too easy in this version. But this is Flappy Bird, and now you have made it too. Now, that said, if you want the project files for the version that we made in this tutorial, they will be below in the description for YouTube members and patrons. It helps support this type of channel, especially since I'm trying to branch out a little bit and experiment with making some Godot videos. Helps support me quite a lot, and you get access to the full code that we made here. And a very big thank you to all my Patreons. You can see them on screen right now. If you want to help support the channel or get any of the project files in any of my tutorials, there's a link down below to the Patreon page to support me, or alternatively as a YouTube member. My Cave Students tier supporters, Oiku, Earl, Monserville Erno, and my Cave Digger tier supporters, Mauricio Farias and Chang the Dude.